everyone, this is Rangas. I'm here going to give you guys a quick tutorial on Crusader Kings 2. I say quick, that's really a lie. This is actually going to be several parts. So the first part is going to be talking about attributes, and to a lesser extent we're going to be talking about traits. Just for the fun of it though, I'm going to change my name here. I'm going to go out of character here and change my name to Rangas. And I've started over here in Ireland, which is sometimes affectionately referred to as Tutorial Island. So, you'll notice all these stats over here. You'll see there are several different types of stats. There are 7 in total. You have your 5 main, and then these 2 which are normally hidden. So, these 5 are what you're really going to see a lot. You'll see them on your character screen. They're all color-coded. This one's blue, red, yellow, purple, kind of white. And these will affect various things. Then you also have these 2, which, unless you use one of the console commands, which is just care info, you won't see this, but you'll see in the tooltips on some traits that you might see, oh yeah, you'll gain half a health from this trait, or, you know, you'll gain fertility or lose fertility based on certain things. So like the celibacy trait, you end up with negative 1,000% fertility, so you can never have a kid. But anyhow, so we'll just kind of work through these one by one, give you guys an idea of what's going on. So you have diplomacy, which you have 2 different types of diplomacy. You have any of these stats, really, these 5 main. You have your personal and you have your state. Personal is just you. That's just your natural abilities. Now, the state, which would normally appear next to it in the bracket, in the Ruler Designer it doesn't. This is just showing you what your base stat is, and this is showing you what it actually will become with the traits. So you'll notice we have +1 to intrigue and -1 to stewardship based on this education trait. But we'll talk about that later. But normally in these parentheses you'll have your state intrigue, or your state attribute. So just working down the line, we have diplomacy. So on the personal level, that'll increase courtiers' opinion of you, and also your counselors and your spouse. So basically, if they happen to be hanging around you all day, they're going to know you, and your personal is going to take over. For basically everyone else, including vassals who aren't counselors or anything like that, your state's going to take over. Now, also, the personal increases your tech acquisition rate in the culture category, which we'll talk about tech later. That'll be a separate video. But just know for now, diplomacy boosts culture. On the state level, like I said, it increases basically everyone else's opinion of you who isn't in your court. It also increases the effectiveness of gifts, so if you ever need to bribe someone, if you have high diplomacy, that's going to help. It also gives you an increase in your prestige gain. Prestige is one of the, for lack of a better term, resources in this game that's just sort of generated passively. So it's good to have that boost. It increases, indirectly it'll increase your opinions with various people. It also increases your vassal limit, which again we'll talk about later. But basically the number of people under you who hold land. Then next we have Martial, which on the personal level will affect battles in which you're a commander. So you can, at least at certain Crown Authority levels, you can select if you're a commander or not. You can change commanders around. At autonomous vassals, you don't have the ability to do that. We'll talk about laws and what all that means in the next couple of videos. I know I'm going to throw a lot of terms at you that you probably have no idea what they mean, but I promise if you stick with it, you'll find out more. And then you can go back and re-watch it, or I'll try to remember to explain things from previous videos. But it also does is it increases or decreases your demesne levies. So let's say right now I just own this one county. I have 1 demesne. I have 1 holding in that county, most likely, which is just the top level. And that'll buff whatever I have there for levies. Now, I probably have a bishop and a mayor underneath me. It does nothing to their levies. That's another trait. Actually, that's controlled by laws. I'm sorry, but so that'll probably be the next video. But also on personal level, it boosts your military tech acquisition rate. Makes sense, right? Now, on the state level, it increases the rate at which your armies recover morale. And what morale is basically just kind of what you think of it. The higher morale you have in an army, the less likely they are to break and run and cause you to lose the battle. Now, on stewardship, on the personal level, it increases your demands limit. So that's like we were talking about here. I have 1. I'll probably have 3 or 4 when I create this character. But it'll allow me to, say, technically own all of Ireland if I have it high enough and with the right crown laws, if I really wanted to do that. Also gives me a boost to my economic tech acquisition, which makes sense considering you see this chest with the gold coins next to it. On the state level, it increases your income from your demands by 0.02% per point. So obviously, you have higher stewardship, you're going to be bringing in more money. Intrigue. This is the first one that does not buff, actually it's the only of the main 5 that doesn't buff any of the tech acquisitions. But what it does do on the personal level is basically nothing. On the state level, it will increase your plot power, so if you're trying to kill someone, it'll give you a higher chance of succeeding with that. And it also acts as kind of counterintelligence. It'll make it harder for people to try to assassinate you or something like that. I've heard that it'll make your plots harder to discover. I haven't really tested that, so I don't vouch for it, so take that one with a grain of salt. But also, it increases your chance to imprison people if you're trying to imprison someone without them deciding that they're going to rebel if you fail or something like that. So, if you're doing a lot of that, you want high intrigue. Moving on to learning, though. On the personal level, it increases all of your tech acquisition, so culture, military, and economic. And also, on the state level, it gives you piety at the rate of 0.02 per month per point. So piety is like prestige. It's just another one of those resources that's out there. It helps your opinions with the church, with bishops who are vassals, and so forth. It's honestly not used as much as prestige, but it is, it's good to have. You're going to see that number tick up. You're not going to really see it go down unless you're just a horrible character. So, onto the hidden ones, you have health here and fertility. These are pretty self-explanatory, but your base is always going to be 5% for health, and that can change if you have certain educational traits in the martial line. That'll buff that. I think it's the level 3 gives you a plus 0.5, and level 4 gives you plus 1. And there are certain things that'll lower that. So if you are ill, I think it lowers your health by 2. And there are certain other illnesses that really lower it. Like I think bubonic plague lowers it by 7 or something crazy like that. So you want this as high as possible. That's just basically what you want to do. Fertility, same basic idea. You start out at 50. There are certain traits that will raise it. There are certain that will lower it. Like I already mentioned, celibacy lowers it by negative 1,000. But there are other ones like lustful, which raises it. And certain educational traits, specifically diplomacy, the diplomacy line and the stewardship line will raise it. And the learning one will actually decrease it. Apparently, I don't know. The developers think that guys who read books can't get laid. I don't know. Then obviously Sons and Daughters speaks for itself. Now, in terms of actually, if you're going to go through, this is the Character Creator, which is a DLC. It's a minor DLC. It's a couple of bucks. I do recommend it if you want to mess around with this, if you kind of want to experiment. You can't really go wrong with it. That being said, if you just like picking a random character on the map and going with it, probably not for you, but you can kind of get into it a little bit. You can design your coat of arms, change your appearance, so I can randomize it. As much as I want, I can change gender. There. We'll go with him. I like that mustache. And, you can go through, you can change culture and religion if you'd like. Now, I'm just going to kind of show you how to game this a little bit. So you want to keep your age under 30 for the most part. Now you're going to want your health at least 9. And actually, I can just control-click. That'll give me... Now, you'll notice I can't finish the species too old to start the game. I can't start a character who's over 50. And I'm going to want at least 2 sons. That puts me at 62. Now, I can't start this, right? Now, I'm also going to change this over to Midas Touched, because this one, you'll notice, will give me +2 to Martial, -1 to Diplomacy, but it'll give me +9 Stewardship, +2 Learning, and a 15% boost to Fertility. So, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to add several traits. I'm going to go in, and first one I'm going to pick is Wounded. It should be around here somewhere. There we go. You notice that's already taken 11 years off my character's age. The reason you want Wounded is this will go away in time very easily, and you'll get the Scarred trait, which if you were to just try to pick that up on your own, if I can find it, Scarred, it's actually, it would add a year to your age if you were to just select it right off the bat instead of subtracting 11. Was it 11? Is that what we said it was? Well, regardless. It gives you a boost to your prestige. Other than that, let's see if I can find where are my sins here. Okay, Lustful doesn't do anything to your age, but it does give you a boost to Intrigue and Fertility. Deceitful lowers your age further, increases your Intrigue, and lowers your Diplomacy. And you'll notice this is actually changing over here. Cynical's another one, which will find it. Subtract 5 years, increase your Intrigue even further. You'll lose some opinion bonuses, but it's not a huge deal. And then Cruel subtracts 5 years. Again, lowers your Diplomacy, but raises your Intrigue. Now, one of the things about this is you do want your stats to be over 8. That's really the goal. Anything below that, you do get some malices. It's not going to be a fun time for you. So we're going to go through and we're going to select some better skills and traits and whatnot. Now, the reason I chose these is they're fairly easy to get rid of, or they're not really detrimental. Now we can go through and we can also pick up Stressed, pick up Depressed, pick up Lunatic, Possessed, and now we're still over the base, but we're back down to 18 years old. We're only at 6 health, and our fertility is up at 70. And yeah, sure, some of our stats are really in the tank, like Diplomacy, but that's going to change soon. So then we can also go down here and we can pick up Gluttonous, which will take another 12 years off, and the lowest it'll start you is 16, but I'd have to be 18 in order to be able to start because I have 2 sons already. You can't get married in the game until you're 16. Then we're also going to pick up Slothful, which is another one that's pretty easy to offset. Craven, also easy to offset. Shy. Arbitrary. And then we may as well pick up Legitimized Bastard. And, oh, what the hell, we'll pick up Kinslayer. So, my Diplomacy right now is just in the tank. It's just not good at all. But what we're going to do is we're going to pick Genius, which you'll notice adds 30 years, but we're still at 16 because of all these negative traits we've gotten here. We're going to pick up Attractive, which would normally add 16 years. We're still at 16, though. Strong. Now we've hit age 28. And if we wanted, we could even go in and add some of these lifestyle skills as well. We're also going to pick up Ambitious. And let's see. If we really wanted to, we could select celibate. And that would subtract 25 years from our age, which would then allow us to go in and pick up ones that give us a boost to our diplomacy. And now all of my traits, actually I can't do that because that's going to be higher, and I really want to have this at 30 or below. Let's see, that gives me +2, gives me +3, let's go with that one. That gives me 29, gives me 5. Alright, so that's really the gist there. Are there a couple other things that we could add in if we really wanted to that wouldn't do too much? Yeah. But that's really part 1 here. So I'm just going to quickly go through this, though. These are the educational traits. So you have several lines. Most notably, we have the... We'll start with this one anyways. You have the intrigue line, which will start you out with +1 intrigue and -1 to stewardship, but you'll end up, if you have the highest one, at +2 martial, +9 intrigue, +2 diplomacy, and only a -1 to stewardship. Now you have appeaser, this is your diplomacy line. -1 martial, +1 diplomacy, ending in -1 martial, that doesn't go any lower. +2 to intrigue, +9 to diplomacy, +2 to learning, and a +10% buff to your fertility. Now, the stewardship line, we have indulgent wastrel, -1 diplomacy, +1 stewardship, going all the way up to +2 martial, -1 diplomacy, +9 stewardship, +2 learning, and a 15% boost to fertility. Martial line, we have +1 martial, -1 learning, +0.5 health, and +1 combat skills. And that culminates at the highest level with +9 martial, +2 intrigue, +2 stewardship, -1 learning, +0.5 health, so I was apparently wrong earlier, and +1 personal combat skills. And then you have the learning line, which I don't really use all that much if I can avoid it. I tend to use this on characters who don't have good traits. So, Detached Priest is the lowest, -1, +1 intrigue, going all the way up to -1 intrigue, +2 diplomacy, +2 stewardship, +9 learning, and a 5% malice to fertility. So that's really all you need to know for traits. There are certain traits here that are congenital. That's the only last thing I want to talk about. You have things like genius, attractive, strong. Those can all be passed down to your kids. By the same token, club-footed, hair-lip, hunchback, lisp, stutter, dwarf, inbred, all of those can be passed down as well. So generally, you kind of get into a kind of a breeding program, which a lot of people do, where they'll try to continuously breed in genius, attractive, and strong. So we've already started out with that, so that gives us a bit of a head start. That's kind of the gist there. So you want to increase these ones in your dynasty and not get any of these. So I tend to train anyone who has these as especially inbred, because that is just a horrible... It is worse than the opposite of genius, which is, I believe it's imbecile? Something like that. I'd have to look, but it's just a horrible trait. Like, it's just so bad. So that... you're pretty much guaranteed. I'm gonna send you off, go for learning, and just probably order him to take the vows so that nothing happens. That doesn't continue on in my dynasty. But anyhow, I'm gonna create this character here, and we'll use him to start to go through the rest. So, that being said, thanks for watching. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel. If you have any questions, leave them down below, and we'll pick it up again. So, thanks for watching. Have a good one.